All right, Meridian Equity Partner. Ring that bell, young man and young lady right there. There you go, folks. New York Stock Exchange closing bell. Markets are closed there. New York, Broad Wall. In South Florida, we are open for business, news, and politics. Look at those markets. All right, you want the good news or the bad news first, folks? I'll give you the good news first. Believe it or not, the Dow up $8 is a good news. S&P up 5. A record close, by the way, again. Good news. NASDAQ barely up a touch. Good news. Gold down. Not so good news. Oil up $1.39. Not so good news. Crypto. Crypto. Bitcoin backed off to 118,000. I heard a little bit. Heard Bolling's account a little bit. And the boys, what's your XRP? XRP, yeah, 307. That's fairly substantial move down, 21 cents. Ouch. Tough day in the crypto markets. All right, our first guest, a geopolitical advisor, strategist who served as a senior staffer to 2 Republican members of Congress. Happy to bring back Rena Shah. Rena, before we jump into this discussion about what's going to go on tomorrow in Juneau, Alaska, did you know that tomorrow Trump is going to meet with Putin? And did you know they're going to meet and effectively give their press conference at, guess what, 4 o'clock Eastern, which is the time of the show. And I say it every day, Trump loves 4 o'clock. We love him at 4 o'clock too. However, so he was asked today what to expect from this meeting. Take a listen.
That meeting, we have a big meeting, and it's going to be, I think, very important for Russia, and it's going to be very important for us, and important for us only that we're going to save a lot of lives. What I'm really doing this for is to save thousands of soldiers a week. You have Russian soldiers, you have Ukrainian soldiers, and then you'll have missiles dropped into various cities and towns in Ukraine. And they're losing last week they lost 7,251 people, mostly soldiers, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers. I'm doing it for that reason. We have a meeting with President Putin tomorrow. I think it's going to be a good meeting, but the more important meeting will be the second meeting that we're having. We're going to have a meeting with President Putin, President Zelensky, myself, and maybe we'll bring some of the European leaders along, maybe not. I think President Putin will make peace. I think President Zelensky will make peace. We'll see if they can get along.
So very optimistic President Trump right there. Rena, what are your thoughts? What's your level of optimism?
It's riding pretty high right now because, look, Eric, I mean, Trump is picking Alaska, not by accident here. It's a straight up power flex, bring him to our soil. Russia sold it to us in 1867 for something like, I think, $7 million. That was chump change back then. And now what we know from Putin is that the team is playing the nostalgia card, essentially, like it's their old backyard. So Trump is saying this is America's turf, essentially. Vlad, I'm running the show. That's not a bad move. It's a bold move, but he's got to back it up with much more than symbolism in order to get Putin to budge. And I think also, let's not forget who won't be there. Zelensky of Ukraine. So he's out at this summit. I think that's a big misstep. To me, that's why I'm not as optimistic as I normally would be. I think we all know, right? Ukraine is fighting for its survival. And their constitution says no land giveaways. What I've been happy to hear from Trump, it seems like what he's open to, what he told European leaders, is he's not open to territorial swaps either. So I think we got to look at it for what it is. Cutting out Kyiv is definitely like making a DC backroom deal. And that makes me a little bit uncomfortable because that says, let's let the big dog
because
decide.
Does it, and I'm listening about this, let's just game this out a little bit, war game it out a little bit, because Russia attacked Ukraine. Listen, we know it was started by Russia. And the minute Putin pulls back, I can't imagine Zelensky is going to continue to fight Russia. If Putin says, I'm laying down these arms, we're pulling our soldiers back, now we have a deal on whatever deal they negotiate for territory, whether it's that, southern part of Ukraine that Russia feels is theirs anyway. And frankly, some of those people are Ukrainian wishing they were with Russia. Anyway, my point is this. Isn't it really up to Putin to end this war?
It is. To answer that question on its face, we've known that for some time. There's no other way. I mean, Trump wants to look like the peacemaker here, the deal maker here, because it benefits us, the United States. It benefits him as a president. So that's just using conventional wisdom here. But I think what we really risk here is to just make Putin look good, to make him look like he's shown up and he's smiling for the cameras, but with his KGB training, he's probably going to do something else on the back end. And so what essentially it means is that he could just be showing up to stall, not to solve. And that's always what you run the risk of. But like I said about leaving out Ukraine's Zelensky, what really happens there is when there's a potential fallout from this first meeting, as Trump puts it, because he wants there to be a second. I think that's a good thing for him to kind of tease that this will all not get done in one meeting. But I really believe that Ukraine needs a seat, or what this summit really risks is being all talk and zero fairness. And I think Trump, to give him some credit here, he's trying to be fair to some degree. He's really pivoted from that one disastrous meeting he and JD Vance had with Zelensky in the Oval Office. It's been a real change since then, and that is also why I'm a bit more optimistic about things.
So again, I see this as this Trump Putin. They're the ones who could literally end this war if Putin backs off, if Russia ceases fire. I don't know why he needs Zelensky's proven that he's the one who can stall and make promises, show up in the White House, and then all of a sudden want to change the deal on the spot in front of the cameras while they're rolling. I can see this, Trump and Putin coming out saying, okay, we got a deal, you're going to take this, they're going to take that, and throwing it to Zelensky, and you want peace, Zelensky? Here it is. Here's your deal. And if you don't, God bless, you're on your own. What's wrong with that? I'm of the ilk that says stop funding any Ukrainian defense of this war at all. Put him on his own, or let Europe do that.
And you're not alone. What we saw at the ballot box in November is a great many Americans actually agree with you on that bit. But speaking of peace, I just know that Putin is not flying to Alaska for peace. He's playing a long game here, and that's to dodge sanctions. I think this feel-out meeting, which is essentially what it is him testing Trump's resolve while Russia bombs still hit Ukraine. So what I have to say as a DC observer, I see Putin smiling for the cameras, but like I alluded to earlier, he's KGB trained, Eric. He's here to stall, not to solve.
For what, though? For what? To what end? Stall to what end?
Much harder than ever.
I mean, well, because if you stall, he's losing, his economy's in shambles right now. We're told not to buy any Russian oil. I mean, he's hurting, the Russian economy is hurting as well. I don't see the payoff for Putin to stall, other than you're poking, not the literal Russian bear, you're poking the United States, the big bear in Trump, and some have some sort of international global cred on your resume that you poked Trump and lived and survived it. I'm not sure that that's any good for him.
Well, I mean, look at what just happened with India's Modi. Modi saying that he will still continue to buy Russian oil. So I think Vladimir Putin looks at sort of the changing chessboard and sees an opening for himself over and over. But we all know what Trump's bet here is as a deal maker man who can close with his magic, as if this is like a Mar-a-Lago contract. But what we both know also is that war is not a real estate deal. If he pushes Ukraine to give up Donbass or Crimea without ironclad guarantees, essentially, like NATO level security for Kyiv, we're just delaying the next fight. And he's got the world's eyes on him. And DC's watching to see if he can land this plane.
It's a big plane to land. I wanted to get to the DC stuff. I ran out of time, Rena. We'd like to get you back next week, and we'll talk about what went down, and we'll kind of take it apart. We'll analyze, the receipts from that meeting. Really good having you on. Rena Shah, everybody. She's so smart. So good.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, good to see you, Rena. All right, folks, last week, HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr., canceled contracts for 22 mRNA vaccines covering everything from COVID to the flu. To find out if that was the right decision, let's bring in the CEO of the wellness company, Peter Gillooly. Peter, really, really good to have you on. RFK rattling a lot of cages, but what are your thoughts on where he is now, what he's doing with the vaccines?
Long overdue, Eric, and I'm extremely encouraged that he has the gumption to stand up against Big Pharma and these multi-billion-dollar contracts of taxpayer money that the government's been handing out. to develop these vaccines. They are dangerous. There's a reason why Pfizer wanted the safety data to be sealed for 25 years after Project Warp Speed. It's because these things turn your body into a foreign protein manufacturing facility, and that's why we've seen all of these deaths. And athletes on the football field to famous actors and actresses, young people dying of cancer. We never used to hear this before.
And you think that's directly associated with the vaccine? And a lot of people are saying there's these worms that are like in our bloodstream. They're pulling them out. Do you think these are directly a result of rushing through a vaccine?
Absolutely. Dr. Peter McCullough, who I know you've had on the show many times, has actually published in academic journals the outcomes of some of these autopsy reports that have these blood clots that aren't, half an inch long. To your point, they look like literal worms. They can be 6 or 12 inches, and they're just catastrophic for your health. And the exact reason for those blood clots is the body's production of spike protein, which is uncontrolled after these vaccinations. Even Yale, one of the most liberal universities in the entire nation, published a study that said over 700 days post-vaccination, which is, by the way, when they stopped the study, 700 days post-vaccination, the body was still producing and had an excess level of spike protein in the bloodstream. And that's exactly the problem. We don't know how long it lasts and if the body is ever able to fully clear it on its own.
Insane that they pushed us and really shamed us into taking that vaccine. The medical establishment, and you point out Big Pharma, immediately criticized RFK Jr.'s decision, claiming it was anti-science, and people would die. They're going to, you're going to have blood on your hands. They did that, pointed at RFK Jr. How would you respond to the criticisms of the Kennedy move?
Do the math. People will not die because of the lack of these vaccines. If anything, looking at the government's own vaccine safety data, people died because of these vaccines far and away higher than they would have ever died from COVID. And if we just had access to common sense medical treatments during COVID, things like zinc supplements, things like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, instead of demonizing these treatments as, horse medication or drinking bleach, these ridiculous accusations, these things save lives. They're critical medications. And guess what? They're way cheaper than any vaccine on the market. And that's exactly what the big pharmaceutical industrial complex does not want you to know.
And Peter, just tell us where in the wellness company, where can we find those specific kits that will help us fight off any sort of these potential pandemic type viruses coming our way?
Yeah, you can go to twc.health/voice and you will see our full suite of medical emergency kits. We have one designed for all-purpose sicknesses that treat over 30 common illnesses, containing amoxicillins, D-Pack, ivermectin, Medrol dose packs. All of these things are critical medicines that you should have in your own medicine cabinet at home and not have to wait to see a doctor when you feel sick, because the best time to treat disease is when you first feel the symptoms.
All right, Peter Gillooly, really good having you on. Great information. Yeah, we do love having those docs on. We have McCullough on. We've had Dr. Drew on. Great group, wellness company. Awesome. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we will be back in 2.5 minutes.